Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins History, where we unlock the hidden stories and hidden treasures behind the coins you carry in your pocket. If you're into coin collecting, rare finds, or just curious about how something as small as a penny can be worth a fortune, then you're in the right place. Today, we're zooming in on one of the most iconic coins in American history, the Lincoln penny. But not just any penny, we're talking about the 1973 Lincoln cent, the one that might just be sitting unnoticed in your drawer, purse, or coin jar. You may be wondering, what makes the 1973 Lincoln penny so special? It's a common-looking coin. It's copper, small, and worth just 1 cent in face value. But believe it or not, certain versions of this coin have made headlines in the world of numismatics. So sit tight, because we're about to take a deep dive into what could turn your pocket change into a small fortune. Let's start with a bit of context. The 1973 Lincoln penny was part of the regular coinage produced by the United States Mint during the early 70s. By this time, the Lincoln cent had already become a staple in American currency. It had been in circulation since 1909, when it was first introduced to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Over the years, its design evolved slightly, but the image of Lincoln has remained, making it one of the most recognizable coins in the world. In 1973, the U.S. Mint produced pennies in 3 main locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. You can identify where your penny was minted by checking the small letter under the date on the obverse, the front side of the coin, just beneath Lincoln's portrait. No letter means it came from Philadelphia. D stands for Denver, and an S means it was struck in San Francisco. Now, the majority of the 1973 Lincoln cents were made in massive quantities. To give you an idea, over 3.5 billion were minted in Philadelphia alone. That means finding a 1973 penny isn't hard. Chances are, you've already handled dozens in your lifetime. But here's where things get interesting. Not all 1973 pennies are created equal. It's the rare variations and minting errors that make some of them incredibly valuable to collectors. Let's talk about those special features. What should you be looking for? Well, for starters, mint errors are a big deal. These are coins that, during the minting process, ended up with flaws, such as double die errors, off-center strikes, or planchet errors. In some cases, the lettering appears doubled, or Lincoln's image might look slightly distorted. While this may seem like a defect to the untrained eye, coin collectors absolutely love these rare quirks. Another thing to look out for is the proof strike from San Francisco. These coins were specially made for collectors and never intended for general circulation. They usually have a mirror-like finish, sharper details, and a pristine appearance. Although most were carefully preserved, if you come across one that has a rare variation, like a double die or another mint flaw, it could be worth much more than you'd ever expect. And here's a detail you shouldn't ignore: the coin's condition. Coin collectors grade coins on a scale from poor to mint state, with MS 65 or higher being considered excellent. A 1973 penny in poor condition might only be worth face value, or a few cents to a casual collector. But if your penny has barely been touched by time, no scratches, clean surfaces, crisp details, then it could be a serious contender for high value. The better the condition, the higher the price. Now, what about the material? In 1973, all Lincoln cents were struck on a bronze alloy, mostly copper with a little bit of zinc and tin. That means the 1973 penny doesn't have the novelty of the later zinc-based coins, but its composition still holds appeal for collectors, especially those seeking pre-1982 copper coins. On a side note, people have been known to hoard these older copper pennies simply for their metal content, but for us, it's the numismatic value that truly matters. So, why does this tiny coin generate such excitement in the coin world? It's a combination of historical value, design consistency, public familiarity, and those rare, juicy mistakes that make certain examples of the 1973 Lincoln penny worth far more than just a cent. Alright, now let's say you go hunting through your old coin jar and pull out a 1973 Lincoln penny with a mint mark. You give it a close inspection and notice something strange. Maybe the letters look doubled, or Lincoln's face is slightly off-center. Then you take a closer look and realize it's in almost perfect condition. You feel like you've struck gold, and guess what? You just might have, because, believe it or not, there are verified examples of the 1973 Lincoln penny, particularly those with rare minting errors, high-grade condition, and sometimes even proof strike origins, that have been sold or valued by collectors at a stunning $45,000. That's right. One single penny, just 1 cent, turning into a life-changing payday of $45,000. It almost sounds too good to be true, but in the coin collecting world, it happens more often than you'd think. That's the magic of numismatics. It's about discovery, history, rarity, and the thrill of finding something extraordinary in the most ordinary of places. Today, we're looking at a very ordinary coin that might just hide an extraordinary secret. We're talking about the 1976 Lincoln penny. That's right, this small, copper coin, minted during the bicentennial year of the United States, could actually be worth thousands. And one version of it? Well, that one could fetch a price tag big enough to turn heads. So sit back, relax, and let's uncover the hidden story behind the 1976 Lincoln cent. Now, let's set the scene. It's 1976. America is celebrating 200 years of independence. Flags are flying, parades are marching, and the spirit of the bicentennial is everywhere, even in the currency. While most attention that year was focused on the special quarters, half dollars, and dollars that were redesigned with patriotic themes, the humble penny kept its classic look. But don't let that fool you, there's something special about the 1976 Lincoln cent. At first glance, it looks just like any other penny. You've got Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front, calm, steady, iconic, and on the back, the Lincoln Memorial. It's familiar, timeless. But as we've learned time and time again in the world of coin collecting, it's often the coins that look the most ordinary that hold the biggest surprises. The 1976 penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If your penny has no mint mark under the date, it came from Philadelphia. If there's a small d, it's from Denver. And if you see an S, it was struck in San Francisco, most likely as a proof coin. Each of these locations produced millions, yes, millions, of pennies that year. So why should anyone care about a coin that exists in such huge numbers? Because not all coins are created equal. Some of these 1976 pennies have something unusual. Something rare. And that's where things start to get exciting. Let's talk about errors, those glorious mistakes that turn regular coins into rare treasures. Imagine a penny with a double die error, where parts of the design appear to be doubled. It's not something you'd notice with a quick glance, but when you look closely, the date or the word Liberty might appear slightly shadowed, or Lincoln's features might have an eerie blur. These aren't flaws, they're quirks that happened at the mint. And collectors absolutely love them. Then there's the off-center strike, where the coin design is slightly misplaced. Or the broad strike, where the coin was struck outside the collar and appears wider than usual. These minting errors are like fingerprints, they make each coin completely unique. And with the right combination of rarity, condition, and a dash of luck, they can make a simple penny shockingly valuable. But condition matters too, more than you might think. A coin that's been passed around in pockets, scratched by keys, and dropped on sidewalks might have character, but it won't command high value. What collectors crave is mint state, that untouched, uncirculated shine that makes a coin look like it just came off the press yesterday. Especially if it's a penny from 1976 with a rare error or an unusual strike. Combine that kind of condition with rarity, and you've got a powerful formula for high value. Now, let's add another layer to the mystery: proof coins. These are specially made coins struck with polished dies and high-quality blanks, giving them a mirror-like finish. If you come across a 1976 penny with the S mint mark and it looks extra sharp, it might be a proof coin. While most proof coins were carefully kept by collectors, if yours has a mint error or unusual feature, it could be worth much more than you think. So you might be wondering, what should I look for in my 1976 pennies? Here's a quick checklist: look for a mint mark, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, and none for Philadelphia. Check for errors, doubling in the letters or date, off-center designs, or unusually thick edges. Examine the condition. The less wear and tear, the better. See if it's a proof coin. Ultra shiny surface, sharp details. Now here comes the part you've been waiting for. We've talked about history. We've talked about mint marks, proof coins, and rare errors. But let's get real. You want to know the value. While most 1976 Lincoln pennies are only worth a few cents to a few dollars, there are some examples, very rare ones, that have shocked collectors and dealers alike. We're talking about 1976 pennies in pristine condition, with dramatic minting errors, that have sold for eye-watering sums at auctions, and yes, one particular example of a 1976 Lincoln penny, with a unique minting flaw, perfect preservation, and extreme rarity, was valued and sold for an astonishing amount. That single, small, copper coin was worth $40,000. Yes, you heard that right. 1 cent $40,000. It's the kind of story that keeps coin collectors checking their change, searching their drawers, and flipping through jars of pennies. Because one lucky find can change everything. Today's video is all about a coin that most people wouldn't give a second glance, but you're not most people. You're here because you know that even the smallest coin can carry a massive secret, and potentially, a massive value. So what are we diving into today? The 1 cent Lincoln penny from the year 1975. That's right, a simple copper coin that's over 45 years old, often overlooked, but in some cases, it's not just a cent. It could be a collector's dream come true. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll find out how one of these little coins, just one, was worth an unbelievable $42,000. Let's start with the basics. The 1975 Lincoln penny is part of a series that's become a cornerstone in American numismatics. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the Lincoln cent was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. Since then, it's been in continuous production, making it one of the most widely circulated coins in U.S. history. Now, fast forward to 1975, a year of economic shifts, cultural changes, and political developments. America was slowly recovering from the Vietnam War, the Watergate scandal had left its mark, and the economy was going through inflation. Even in that atmosphere, the U.S. Mint continued to strike billions of coins for circulation, including the penny, but not all 1975 pennies are created equal. The first thing you need to know is where your penny was minted. In 1975, Lincoln cents were produced in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If your penny doesn't have a mint mark under the date, it came from Philadelphia. A small d means it was struck in Denver. And if you see an S, you've got something even more interesting, because that's from San Francisco, most likely a proof coin. Now you might be thinking, why should I care where it was minted? Here's why. Each mint produced these coins in slightly different quantities, and more importantly, with different levels of quality control. The San Francisco Mint, for example, was focused on collector-grade proof coins, and mistakes there were extremely rare. But when they happened, they became highly valuable. This brings us to the real heart of the matter. What makes a coin valuable? It comes down to a few critical things: rarity, condition, and errors. Let's talk about condition first. If you've got a penny that's been in someone's pocket for decades, it's probably scratched, worn down, maybe even discolored. It's worth a cent, maybe a few cents to a casual collector. But if you have a 1975 Lincoln penny that's in mint state, which means it was never circulated and looks exactly like it did the day it was struck, now that's something to take seriously. Next, we get into the really exciting part: errors. These are the minting mistakes that slipped through quality checks and ended up in circulation. We're talking about things like double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and even coins struck on the wrong metal blanks. These errors can make a coin one of a kind, and that's exactly what collectors are hunting for. The 1975 Lincoln penny is no stranger to these types of rare errors. In fact, there are a few known examples with double die obverse, where the date, lettering, or even Lincoln's portrait appears slightly doubled. This happens during the minting process when the die used to strike the coin shifts just enough between strikes to leave a second impression. While minor doubling might not be worth much, dramatic, clear doubling can turn a regular coin into something spectacular. There are also stories of 1975 pennies struck on dime planchets, meaning the coin is smaller, lighter, and silver-colored instead of copper. If you come across a penny that seems oddly sized or strangely colored, don't toss it aside. That could be a rare error coin, and its value could surprise you. Let's also touch on proof coins for a moment. These were special coins made for collectors and not meant for regular circulation. They were struck multiple times to give them a crisp, mirror-like finish. If you come across a 1975 penny with an S mint mark that shines like a mirror and has incredibly sharp details, it might be a proof coin. These are valuable on their own, but if one has an error or is in perfect condition, its value skyrockets. And here's something else to remember: coin value isn't just about age. It's about uniqueness. Millions of coins were minted in 1975, but only a tiny fraction, an incredibly rare handful, came out with mistakes or in perfect, untouched condition. And it's those few coins that collectors will pay big money to own. So how do you know if you have a valuable one? Start by examining your coin closely. Use a magnifying glass. Look at the date. Check for doubling in the letters or numbers. Inspect Lincoln's profile. Is everything aligned correctly? Is the strike clean? Is the mint mark clear and properly placed? These little details can make a big difference. And of course, the coin's condition is everything. The less it's been handled, the more it's worth. You can also have your coin professionally graded by a numismatic service like PCGS or NGC. They'll tell you exactly what condition it's in and whether it has any valuable features. Having a certified grade from one of these trusted organizations can dramatically increase your coin's value if you ever decide to sell it. Now, here's the moment you've been waiting for. While most 1975 pennies will only be worth a few cents or a couple of dollars, there is one known example, an ultra-rare, perfectly preserved, error-struck penny from 1975, that stunned the collecting world. That single coin was appraised and sold for an eye-watering amount. One tiny copper coin from 1975 was valued at $42,000. That's right. A penny. Just 1 cent, $42,000. So don't underestimate what might be hiding in your change jar, your piggy bank, or that old shoebox of coins in your attic. Because one overlooked penny could be worth more than your car, or even your college tuition. Today, we're unlocking the secrets of the 1980 Lincoln penny. Yep, that simple 1-cent coin featuring President Abraham Lincoln. It might seem like just another penny, but trust me, this little piece of metal has a story, and a value, that might leave you completely stunned. So grab a seat, get comfortable, and stick around to the very end, because we're going to uncover what makes this coin so special, how to spot the rare ones, and just how much one version of this penny sold for. Not in cents, not in dollars, but in the tens of thousands. Let's take a journey back to 1980. The world was changing. The US was coming out of a tough decade of economic uncertainty, disco was fading, and personal computers were just starting to make their way into homes. Amidst all this change, the US Mint was continuing its long-standing tradition of producing the Lincoln cent, which had already been in circulation for over 70 years. Now, in 1980, the penny was still being struck using mostly copper. That's important, because just a couple of years later, the composition would change to mostly zinc, making these earlier coins more desirable to many collectors. The Lincoln design had become iconic by then, the right-facing portrait of President Lincoln on the front, and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, a design introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of his birth. But here's where things start to get interesting. In 1980, for the first time in U.S. mint history, the Philadelphia Mint began using a mint mark. Prior to this, pennies struck in Philadelphia had no mint mark at all. But in 1980, the tiny letter P began appearing beneath the date on coins from Philadelphia. This may seem like a small detail, but to coin collectors, it's a historic shift. And with change comes opportunity. The 1980 penny was produced at 3 different mint facilities: Philadelphia, with the new P mint mark, Denver, with a D, and San Francisco, with an S, where proof coins were made for collectors. Each mint produced millions, sometimes billions, of these coins. But even with high mintage numbers, the value of a coin comes down to something very specific: quality, rarity, and the unexpected. Let's start with quality. Most pennies from 1980 are worn out by now, scratched, dented, and faded from decades of handling. But every now and then, someone finds a penny that has been preserved perfectly. Maybe it was pulled straight from a mint roll and never spent. Maybe it sat untouched in a collector's album. Whatever the case, a 1980 penny in mint state, meaning it looks just as it did the day it was struck, is already far more valuable than its face value, but condition is only part of the story. What really gets collectors' hearts racing are the errors, those rare, unintentional mistakes that happen during the minting process. Some 1980 pennies were struck with doubling in the lettering or date, what collectors call a double die. Others were produced off-center, where the design is shifted noticeably to one side. There are coins with repunched mint marks, where the tiny letter appears twice. And then there are the rare broadstrike errors, where the coin was struck without the usual pressure, causing it to spread wider than usual. These minting mistakes don't make a coin worthless, they make it a treasure, and when one of these errors shows up on a coin in nearly flawless condition, the value can shoot up dramatically. Add in the fact that the coin comes from a historic minting year, like 1980, and suddenly you've got something very special on your hands. Now, let's talk about grading. Coins are professionally graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin that receives a grade of MS 65 is considered gem quality, but anything MS 67 or above is extremely rare and commands high premiums. Pair that high grade with an error, and you're looking at something that could change someone's entire perspective on pennies. So how much are we talking? Well, most 1980 pennies are still worth a cent. A few in good condition might fetch a couple of dollars. But if you have a coin that checks all the boxes, rare error, impeccable condition, and high grade, its value can climb fast. These coins become showpieces in serious collections. And some of them are so rare, collectors will bid tens of thousands just for the chance to own one. Now for the moment you've been waiting for. A very specific 1980 Lincoln penny, flawless in appearance, struck with a rare minting error, and graded at an elite level, was once appraised and sold for an unbelievable amount. That single 1-cent coin was worth $49,000, yes. $49,000. So, the next time you're sorting through your change or see a penny lying on the ground, don't be so quick to pass it by. Because that tiny copper coin could hold a hidden value you never imagined. All it takes is a sharp eye, a little bit of curiosity, and just the right amount of luck. If you found this video fascinating, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more rare coin stories, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next treasure hunt. Who knows? The next rare coin we talk about might be sitting in your wallet right now. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy collecting. Today, we're talking about a coin that many people overlook every single day. It's small, it's copper, and it might even be sitting in your change jar right now. We're talking about the 1978 Lincoln penny. Now, before you say, it's just a penny, hang tight, because this isn't just any old 1-cent coin. The 1978 Lincoln penny, especially with certain mint marks and in exceptional condition, has become a collector's gem. And believe it or not, some versions of this coin are selling for amounts that will leave you speechless. So make sure to watch all the way to the end, because we'll reveal the jaw-dropping amount one of these little coins was recently valued at. It's a number you won't want to miss. Let's start with a little background. The Lincoln penny has been around since 1909, introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, and it quickly became one of the most collected coins in the world. Fast forward to 1978, America was going through big changes. Inflation was rising, pop culture was booming, and in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, the U.S. Mint was busy producing millions of these copper coins. But here's the thing, while millions were minted, not all pennies are created equal. In 1978, 3 mint facilities were used: Philadelphia, which struck pennies with no mint mark; Denver, which used the D mint mark; and San Francisco, which used an S mint mark for proof coins. Each of these facilities produced coins with their own quirks, qualities, and yes, some incredibly rare variants. So, why is the 1978 penny suddenly catching collectors' eyes? It's all about condition, rarity, and minting errors. First, let's talk about condition. Most 1978 pennies you'll find have been tossed around in pockets, purses, and cash registers for over 4 decades. They're scratched, worn, and far from perfect. But a coin that's never been used, kept in pristine, uncirculated condition, that's a different story. Collectors are willing to pay a premium for a coin that looks as fresh as the day it left the mint. Then there's the rarity factor. Some 1978 pennies were struck with small mistakes, errors in the minting process that weren't caught before they were released. These errors might be double die strikes, off-center strikes, or issues with the mint mark itself. And here's where things get interesting: collectors go absolutely crazy for error coins. Why? Because they're one-of-a-kind, accidental creations from the US Mint, and owning one is like owning a piece of history that wasn't supposed to exist. Imagine finding a 1978 penny with a visible double strike on Lincoln's head or a mint mark that's misaligned. To the average person, it might just look odd. But to a trained collector? That's a jackpot. Let's take a closer look at mint marks. The Denver mint mark, the little d beneath the date, is one that collectors often watch closely. Some of the 1978 D Lincoln pennies were struck with a repunched mint mark, where the D appears doubled. These types of errors are rare, and when found in great condition, they can command serious money. Then there's the proof penny from San Francisco, the 1978 S. These coins were never meant to circulate. They were struck for collectors, using polished dies and special planchets, giving them that mirror-like finish. A flawless proof coin with no blemishes, especially if it has a rare error or is graded PR 70 by a reputable grading service, can fetch impressive prices. Now let's talk grading. Coin grading is how professionals determine a coin's quality. Grades range from poor, P1, all the way up to mint state 70, MS 70, or proof 70, PR 70. A 1978 Lincoln penny graded MS 65 or higher is already desirable, but one that's MS 68 or MS 69? That's where we start entering elite territory. These coins are rare, nearly perfect, and highly sought after. So you might be wondering, what's the actual value here? Most 1978 Lincoln pennies are worth a cent, maybe a few dollars if they're in nice shape. But, and this is where things take a wild turn, there are exceptions. Exceptionally rare versions, with stunning quality, unique errors, and the right mint mark, have sold for astonishing sums, and that brings us to the big reveal. One very special 1978 Lincoln penny, with a rare minting error and in nearly flawless condition, was recently valued at $35,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny. $35,000. It's hard to believe something so small, so ordinary looking, could hold so much value. But that's the magic of coin collecting. The treasure is often hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to take a closer look.